Hi guys, we're live on Facebook with two amazing ultra cyclists, Joe Barr and Jason Black. We're beginning a new collaboration team, JB Squared. This is going to be an incredible thing. But first, the two is Jason Black. Tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into cycling? You're a big sportsman.
Yes.
And cycling's relatively new to you as well.
Not really, no. I suppose it's like everything else. It's not until you put your head above the parapet that people sit up and realise that you've probably been doing this all of your life. So for me, I suppose I'm a local Indigenous person. I'm born and raised in Donegal. This has been my playground for the last 35 years as a cyclist. I started out cycling when I was a young cub. 12 years of age was my first introduction to racing. I was delighted to be part of the first institution in cycling in Donegal with Tyrconnell Wheelers, which was the first cycling club set up in the county. And way back then, I think there was only about 5 or 6 of us in total. There was a couple of strong characters in our county, Tommy Piper and all those guys that were out there, Tommy Burns, and we were there knocking about at 12 years of age, and they were giving us loads of advice, but certainly not the advice that's available today online that everybody's gotten ready available to them. But no, look, I spent 35 years on a bicycle, and without all those years and miles grinding out on the road, I certainly wouldn't be sitting here today with this giant in cycling beside me.
Why the endurance cycling circuit?
I suppose, to be honest, no more than Joe, I've raced the local mainstream cycling environment for years, and naturally the next stepping stone for me was to move to an environment that I could go long, and I really enjoyed the ambition of going long as a cyclist. Really enjoyed the ambition of going long as an endurance athlete. I spent a life as an endurance athlete, I suppose, climbing mountains and pursuing endurance sports. And naturally then, the one sport that kept me fit all my life was my cycling. So the natural journey for me was to take it into the two wheels, and look, I've really enjoyed it. I also enjoy the camaraderie that I see that's in this world. It's not that super intense competitive environment where we're taking knife and daggers to each other. There's a real sense of camaraderie in endurance racing. People know that the finish line is long and hard to get there, and they want to share their knowledge and their skill, and the more that what Joe's doing with us in the Vodoo Performance team, sharing his knowledge and his base, it's a prime example of getting to the finish line.
Tell me about your past achievements, your recent achievements in the ultra cycling world.
Well, I suppose I'm fairly new to ultra cycling in the sense that ultra cycling, I've dabbled into it. My first serious one was the race across Italy. My first serious one was such a learning curve. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I went there knowing and understanding the distance, but all the other parts of the jigsaw puzzle inside was just mind-boggling. And I think, we struggled hugely. I mean, we've had a couple of DNFs in there, and stepping off the bike thinking you're invincible, and then all of a sudden you realise, wow, this thing is just bigger and better and harder and tougher than you can just physically imagine. It's just not cycling a bike. It's got every mechanic in there that you just can't believe, and every element. So from there, that's 3 years ago, and we've stepped into 2017 with a stronger proposition. We've learned from our mistakes, and I think for me that's been the big learning curve, was to have the ability just to face the demon and to look at what we've done right, but more importantly what we've done wrong, and have the courage to try to fix that, and have the courage to come back and step back up to the line. And thankfully this year it's paid dividends with the race around Ireland.
So we're teaming up with Joe Barr. You're a massive fan of his.
Absolutely. Throughout
all the years.
Yeah.
What would it be like racing with Joe Barr?
It's great. Growing up as a young cub, Joe was always there as the most profound cyclist in Donegal, if not in the country at the time. I rode the Ross. Prior to riding the Ross, Joe was there. He was in the top 10 every time, top 5 in the stage finishes, and he just had this fantastic air about him, as a professional athlete, and I've always had massive respect for Joe. And I think one thing I like about Joe is, while he's a quiet and he's a quiet and reserved individual, when you reach out to Joe, he's that caring individual that wants to share information, and he just doesn't do it in that just big flamboyant way. He's just himself, and I suppose one thing for me I've always enjoyed about Joe Barr is just Joe Barr.
Yeah. So you've known him pretty much all the way through his cycling career. Joe, you went into the ultra cycling world yourself in 2009. Tell me very briefly, give me a rough timeline of your ultra cycling world.
Oh, well, we went into ultra cycling in 2009, and I was very fortunate. I had a great start. Like I won the very first World Cup race that I rode in the race around Ireland, and that's 10 years ago now. Like, but I would have to say that was, you know, more a fluke than it was purposeful, and you know, I also knew that wasn't sustainable. I knew that I had drawn a very good straw. I knew Ireland very, very well to race in, and I knew it was at the time of year when the weather wasn't that great, and so on and so forth. So, you know, we won there, but you know, I've had a lot of big dents as well at the beginning. You know, I had a big one in Italy as well, and it happens to everyone. So Jason, it's no different for Jason. Like, you know, to get a few dents, but I think the key message here is, you know, to learn from that dent. And what attracted me to, you know, to reaching out to Jason was the fact that he was prepared to go away and fix it and come back again with a different perspective, and a different viewpoint, and maybe a little bit more humble too, just like myself. To realise that some of these guys who are doing this are very, very, very good. Yeah,
as I always say, a DNF is not a failure.
Absolutely,
it's just literally an opportunity for you to stop, think, and go on. Like,
well, there's no such thing as word of failure. Failure doesn't exist. Failure is not a word that should be in anybody's vocabulary. It's literally a setback. You basically have to go back, set your stalls out, see what. I think the big thing for me was to have the courage to look at what we done right, and more importantly what we done wrong, as I said. And it was only then when I was courageous enough to do that, because I think as sports people we always want to gloss at the things we do right. We never really want to examine what we done wrong. And I think when I really got the opportunity or got the courage to do that, then it was only then that we matured as athletes and we matured as a team, so that we could really start to take this thing serious.
So looking forward to the rest of this season, the 2017 season, NCOM 1000, No Country for Old Men 1000. Joe's ridden it in 2015, first place winner, 80 hours and no sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, what's your advice to Jason on this race?
Well, we've had a couple of conversations around it, obviously, like, and you know, I've tried to empower Jason with as much knowledge around the race as possible. One of the key things about Nocum, from Jason's point of view on this trip, is that unfortunately in our Nocum, just due to a huge weather situation, the actual race itself took a completely different shape to what Jason's going to, because the beginning of the race was reversed to the end. So effectively he's looking at a slightly different version of what we did. That's the first thing. However, if the weather stays the way it is and it doesn't have the big shifts that we experienced or whatever, I mean, I think he's in a very good position, like, to be able to go. I mean, Nocum is a very, very difficult 1,000-mile race. Very difficult. It has all the elements. It has the heat, it has a little bit of altitude, it has just about everything that you could imagine, but it has huge desolate roads, and a lot of planning and preparation from the team point of view is actually a key factor of it. Like, so that's the piece that we're trying, you know, as our team, as Team Joe Barr, we're trying to empower him with that information to ensure that he gets the best out of his event that he can get out of it, like, and hopefully get him on the podium regardless of where that is. Because this is also a big preparation curve for him in relation to race across America, because it's his first time in the States racing. So just to get used to that big open environment with not a lot of facility and not a lot of anything really, because it's a lot of desert route and you know, and stuff like that. So you know, that's where I see it at. But I have no doubt that he'll do very well.
Jason, what are your thoughts on NCOM 1000 as a predecessor to RAAM?
Look, I'm super excited. You know, we're on a progressional plan, and this is the next step in it. You know, I reached out to Joe to say, Joe, look, you know, what should be my progressional plan coming off the likes of Italy and going into the likes of race around Ireland, and then obviously he pointed this direction to get into the States, to have a look at the high temperatures that we're going to experience in RAAM next year, what the sweat levels are going to be like, what the dehydration levels are going to be, how we're going to be able to cope in extreme heat conditions, not only as me as an athlete, but also my team. And also to be able to operate in a desolate environment, as Joe said, like, we don't have any shops around us, we don't have anything, we're in the desert, and you know, we've got to really make sure that we can trust our systems, you know, the car, the navigation, the communication, and look, you know what, I was able to ride successfully Italy non-stop, I was able to ride successfully race around Ireland non-stop, and they were both, you know, 800 up to 1200, and then the next progression for me is 1600 kilometres or 1000 miles. and can we stay on the bike for that full distance? That's the test. And we're going out there to treat Race Across Texas or NOCOM as our next step in our development plan, and super excited. I mean, as an athlete, this is where I want to be. This is the progression and plan I want to be on, and it's all aimed towards Race Across America.
So, talking about Race Across America then, Joe, you're a Race Across America veteran. You've been there in 2012. Didn't go so well with altitude sickness, but then in 2014 you came back and you conquered, I suppose. Jason, have you done Race Across America before?
No, and I can't wait.
Can't wait. So, Joe, I suppose, tell me about the Race Across America. What is it? I suppose
Well, the Race Across America is it's a 3,020 mile race from Oceanside, California to Annapolis, Maryland. It crosses a number of deserts and a number of really high altitude climbs, and it crosses the huge flatlands of Kansas with a lot of crosswind. So every element that you could imagine on a push bike it brings, and it also has the capability to bring a perfect storm with that. Not alone does it have the capability, it more than likely brings it every year. It just brings it in a different version, and it's being empowered with the correct knowledge and the correct method to actually deal with that perfect storm in relation to whatever way it presents itself, because you're going to be in the deserts of Arizona at 60 degrees, and you're going to be at 10 or 11,000 feet at the top of the Rockies, so you're going to be in all of that. So we have to deal with that, and especially the way it's actually positioned in the race is a key element as to how we actually approach it and how Jason learns how to do that, because that will also be the first part of the curve of learning to go back solo at some point, hopefully the year after. And I think it's the right way for him to do it, because in 2012 I paid a huge price.
you nearly lost your life.
Well, yes, but we've moved on from that now, and that's all well documented knowledge. But it's at the end of the day, we now understand that situation a lot better, and we understand that how we perceived it to be is not actually how it is, and that's the experience that we have gained. So therefore, there's no reason for me to stand back and allow someone like Jason, who's the next wave of the riders coming along, especially another Irish rider, to fall into the same pitfall that I fell into. There's absolutely no reason to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident. It's statistical fact that 2/3 of the rookies don't make it to the finishing RAAM. That's a statistical fact. It's so difficult. But again, I think that with the knowledge that we have and what we're going to pass on to Jason, it's going to give him his best opportunity to be able to get across there and be one of the third as opposed to the 2/3 who doesn't. Yeah. And I would love to see that happen, because I'm not going to be around forever, and he needs to be able to take over from there, because he is the next, in my opinion, the next wave coming along behind me. And I need some help as well.
Yeah. I suppose then I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your best piece of advice for Jason for RAAM?
Be adaptable.
Yeah.
How do you plan to adapt? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that a big thing that we learned is I've made every strategic plan that you could imagine under the sun in relation to this type of racing, and one thing that I have learned, that plan has got to be torn up within a 5 mile period, through in the bin,
Or even less.
or even less, or even less. And you got to just adapt a brand new plan, and it has to be instant. It has to be on the side of the road, and the service car's not stopping, and the clock's not stopping. So you gotta so effectively, will you be comfortable at any given period? No, that's not going to happen in Race Across America. I can guarantee you that. I just don't know the shape of that yet, but I know that will definitely happen. It has happened the 2 times I've been across. Every person who has helped me to get across RAAM, it has happened to them multiple times. So Jason's not going to be any different. But I have no doubt. Watching the way he rode the bike in Italy has been a huge transformation until up and above the 2 DNFs that he had at the beginning, where he just got a couple of big dents. That's okay. The dents are positive. He rode very smoothly, and he rode very consistently in Italy to get himself to the finish and get himself qualified and whatever. He done the same in Ireland this year, and this is the next step up for sure to go to America. But I just think that this is not alone is it a step up in distance. It's a different type of race, and it's what he needs to experience now, so that he can come back and actually draw parallels between what he's experienced Ireland, Europe, and now the States. So all of a sudden he's getting a better perspective of the whole thing.
With no DNF.
Don't worry about that. Jason, the big question is, why?
Look, for me, why? Well, couple of reasons. One is I'm getting an opportunity to write with somebody I admire, somebody I respect, somebody I look up to. I'm getting the most incredible, me personally and my team are getting the most incredible opportunity to learn, and to learn from the most knowledgeable team on the circuit and the most professional team on the circuit. And then on a personal level, it's for me. I'm just one of those individuals that just doesn't want to stand still. I really want to explore what's out there. It's endless. I mean, through my mountaineering life, I've been able to see above and beyond. And I'm not one of those people that just want to sit on the merry-go-round and let it continue to go round and go round and go round. I'm the one guy that wants to get off and see what's around the next corner. And for me, the next corner is RAAM. What that looks like. I want to really exhaust my mind and explore what's out there and test it to the maximum, and without doubt, we can hear Joe when he talks about the trials and tribulations of what RAAM's going to bring to the table, and that's the answer to why. Any sane person wouldn't throw the leg over that bicycle, but
yeah. Or maybe you are the most sane person.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly, and I don't doubt that others out there listening to this interview will be sitting there the same way, going, what's around the next corner?
Yeah.
That's where the magic is. That's where the magic is for me. What next? Why not?
Joe, why do you do it?
Well, firstly, it's who I am. That's the first thing. I don't race just for the sake of racing. I mean, I've raced bikes my whole life, so if you were to mention push bike racing in any shape or form in this country, and especially here in Donegal, I would like to think that someone's going to mention my name somewhere along the line. But for us, like, we have a lot of core values that we set in the team at a very early stage, like, and for us it's about paying it forward really at this point. I've achieved a number of World Cup wins, individual wins. We're currently leading the World Championship. We've actually went out there and proved ourselves from this small island that it's possible to do it. I'm not saying it's easy to do it, but I'm saying it's very possible. And it's very important for me that we've trailblazed the way, we've made all the mistakes, we've done everything, but it's very important for me now that we set the scene for the next wave of riders of Ireland, because at the end of the day, not alone do I go to the start line every time to represent Team Joe Barr, I go there to represent our country. Yeah. And that's a very important issue, like, especially in the world stage. Like, so we also around the world we've created a great camaraderie and a lot of respect from the organisers of these races, and for us to come along and try and make the door a little bit more open for the people coming behind us. Again, that's another thing that we can do and we're prepared to do, and I've always had a very, very good response from all the organisers around the world to help us to achieve what we're doing, and that's no different with Race Across America. I mean, Rick and Fred Boothing, who own the race, have always been very, very helpful for us to try and do what we're trying to do, considering the sheer expenses attached to something like Race Across America. So yeah, that's the reason that I do it. And it's easy to sit back and say, oh, we're doing it just to win races or whatever. There may have been a point that was the case, but I think that we've surpassed that point right now, like, and we've established ourselves, and I've had a lot of help from a lot of people around the world, and a lot of help from a lot of people here, like, so it's just now time for me to start to pay it forward, and Jason's the next person who has stepped up, who's shown by his performances that he's the potential to be able to do this.
When we cycle, people often call it a lonely sport. Obviously you're a team, but you'll be doing legs, and that's just how it works, that they both don't cycle at the same time. But you aren't really alone on the road, are you? No. Jason, your crew, how important is it?
The crew's everything, and I suppose this collaboration shows the magnitude of it. The stronger together slogan that myself and Joe and the teams believe in, because that in itself sets the tone for the success of any endurance sport, whether it's in sport or whether it's in life. You can't survive the world of sport or the world of life without people's support. You can't. We all need help in navigation in life, whether it's in sport or in life. We all need replenishing and nutrition, whether that's through good, strong, positive energy to fuel the body, to fuel the mind, to move forward. And that's what we're both bringing to the table. That's what our teams are bringing to the table. Joe has honed an incredible crew for the last 10, 15 years, in his journey in the endurance world. And the Voodoo Performance Team is a new team. We're growing, we're maturing, we're learning, we're tripping up, we're making mistakes.
But you have the attitude.
Well, we want to be there. We want to be there, and we want to be competitive, and we want to learn, and we're not afraid to make mistakes, and we want to learn alongside Team Joe Barr. And the collaboration allows that. I mean, to have the crew chief from Team Joe Barr working with our crew chief, my own wife Sharon, absolutely incredible. To work with our navigators, to work with our drivers, or have Jill from Team Joe Barr working with our nutrition. My daughter Laura. This is incredible. This is the magic that makes us go forward. Yeah. And let's not miss the opportunity too to state that us as the Voodoo Performance Team, we're indebted to the likes of Team Joe Barr to impair this, or to share this information, because mainstream sports people don't do this. They keep the best secrets to themselves, and that's how they win races. These guys are preparing to share and to make a difference.
What do you plan to learn from Joe?
Everything. Absolutely everything. Everything from riding position to fueling to hydration to attitude to absolutely every single part of the cog that'll take that wheel to turn to take me from Oceanside to the finish line. Joe Barr's going to teach me.
Joe, you also have a lot of technical knowledge.
Yeah.
What are you going to learn from Jason?
I've never done two-man team before, ever. This is my first venture into it. However, I've chose to do that, and I think that I'll learn a lot. I think that spending some time in the crew car when Jason's on the road will allow me to have a different viewpoint of the whole team structure. Yeah.
Even our own crew car, I suppose.
Absolutely, our own crew car. Because I see some of the footage afterwards when I'm on the road, but there's an awful lot of things that happen in the car that, for the obvious reason, I don't get to see, and I don't get to participate in. But I'll learn a lot from that. I think. Even Jason's background in relation to his mountaineering and whatever, I'll learn something there for sure. So I don't see that I'm not going to learn something. I'm going to learn a lot. So I'm also going to learn, probably to be a little bit of a better team player myself, if I can, because sometimes I can be a little bit demanding.
Five club changes in 10 minutes.
But Joe, we are as cyclists, as solo riders or as solo individuals. That's what we are.
Absolutely,
so
and I think as well that I think whenever we talk about the whole endurance journey, and we're talking about race across America, and we're talking about different World Cup races here or whatever, I think that there's a fundamental piece of all of those that has a standalone position, and that this type of racing differs from every other dimension of cycling that I've been involved in, and I have been involved in pretty much all of them. And it strips everything down to one core question, and that is, can I do this or can I not do it? And it doesn't matter about anything else beyond that point, at that point. And I've been there a number of times. A number of times it's won, and a number of times I've overcome it. But it will appear, and to me that's one of the core reasons why I do this, why I do it, because it asks absolutely everything of me, mentally and physically, to do what I'm doing. I'm very fortunate at my age. I'm still able to do it at a fairly reasonable level, but that point will come for Jason at some point as well. And when he gets to that point, because I don't think that where he's positioned at the minute won't allow him to actually get to that point, because there's going to be an elevation of this, a number of elevations, but it's when he gets to where the last elevation of the ask is that it'll really appear. And that's the point, to me, whenever you can overcome that you've arrived. And it's taken me, from I started, probably to, I would arguably say this is the best year Team Joe Barr has had, from a true performance point of view, in managing all the aspects, not just any one of them, but managing them all correctly and stringing them all together and making them into a result. And I think that's evident by the fact that we're leading the World Cup.
Jason, we're talking about strength, and what would you say would be your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is self-belief. I have not an arrogant, but just a very personal self-belief in Jason Black.
Mm.
You know, I mean, I can't put it in words. I mean, you know, I've had a tough life. You know, life hasn't been easy. You know, as an individual growing up as a young boy, it's, you know, we use a phrase in cycling where you're in the gutter, out the back, down the back, swinging, and I've been in the gutter quite a lot as a young boy growing up, and I lost my brother, who was an incredible cyclist, you know, and he was my best friend, and you know, he was half wheeling me all my life, and you know, he's one of the reasons I'm on the bike. And you know, like a lot of people that'll be watching in this evening, I lost my mum to cancer, and that was a tough place as a young boy growing up. So I've been in the gutter quite a lot, you know, and I've had the kicks of life. And I suppose the one thing, you know, that the one thing through JB Squared is, and what myself and Joe would like to share with people, is that when you are in the gutter and when you are out the back and when you are on your knees, it's about being stronger together, and it's about standing back up again and just dusting yourself down, and no matter what that looks like, and just keep prepared to take the next step forward. You don't always need to see the horizon. I didn't always need to see where I was going. I just needed to have the courage to take the next step. And through our actions in Race Across America, we want people to come with us on this journey. It's not about Jason Black and Joe Barr and JB Squared and they're on this fantastic trail to race from one side to the other side. It's not about that. It's a global experience. We want globally people to come with us on this journey. The people that are struggling with suicide, depression, cancer, illnesses, self-belief. This is an opportunity for us to share. This is an opportunity for us to be stronger together. And that's really what JB Squared is about. That's really what we're about. And through our actions and through our determination, we're going to help people get there.
I think that's a very good comment. Joe, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely would agree. You know, I mean, this is a lot more than two guys riding bikes. Like, you know, it really is. It's a very key message here. I think it's a very unique message, and it's coming from a very unique situation in that you have, you know, this is two Donegal guys representing Ireland going to the Race Across America. It's not every day that's going to happen.
No.
And I think that it's a great story, and I think it's a story that will inspire a lot of people around the world. And you know, I know that when we bring the connections of the US landmass to our own connections, I think that we're going to have a big following, and I think that we're going to achieve a lot of great things out of it. And somewhere along the line, I know that there is going to be at least one person that's life's going to change, and if we can change one life, then
it only takes one.
We've made a difference. Like.
Absolutely, it only takes one person to change.
Yeah, I'm sure you've already changed many over the years, like, of course.
But together.
Together, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Jason has like got a huge background in, you know, the help that he's actually providing for a lot of young people, and you know, it's common knowledge. I've had my own history, you know, over the years involved in all of that background as well. Like, so, you know, we've contributed in many ways for many times, but that's again is not what this is about. Like, this is about us now coming together from two different backgrounds completely and joining together and being stronger together and sending that message out. So we're inspiring a new group of people. It's a new audience, and we have the experience to be able to do that. So again, I say, if we can change the life of one person, we've made a huge difference.
Absolutely.
I have no doubt that we'll do that.
I think duty bound as human beings. I think we're duty bound as human beings to make a difference.
Yeah, I have to go back to my 2014, and I'm not going to dwell on that, but I'm just going to say I was amazed at the response that I got in America in 2014 from both the people of America and the institutions that were there. Considering I was riding a bike from one side of America to the other, that's all I was doing really. You know, I also seen, like, you know, even from the government level, like, we got a great response. So again, I have no doubt that all of that will start to appear as this journey starts to escalate in its actual awareness, because let's face it, it's at a very, very early stage in its infancy really, and but it's going to grow, and it's going to grow through media, and it's going to grow through the local people in both Donegal and in Ireland getting behind what we're trying to do, and
seeing beyond that it's a race.
Seeing beyond that it's us, like, and just seeing beyond what we're trying to do, like, and getting behind it.
Absolutely, and see the message that's inside the journey, and not the journey itself, not the fact that it's a race. What are we trying to achieve in it, you know, and be part of it. Don't look in and be just that viewer. Be part of the journey.
I have to say as well, like, you know, from our own, I can only talk about our own world really, like, you know, and what we've been doing, like, and all our social media reach and whatever. I mean, I would have to say the social media reach in our world this year is nothing short of phenomenal.
It's skyrocketed like for.
It's incredible. So effectively, we actually have the capability to actually impact a huge audience here. Like so, I think that we have to be very responsible around how we do that and how we go about achieving that. Like, but I just think with that sort of following and that sort of increase in our following, I think that this whole race is going to attract a huge interest from the community, not from any other reason than just to support what we're trying to do.
Is that support important on the road?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is. Like, yeah. I think
when you're in that deep, dark, desolate area, both physically and mentally, and your mind's really challenged, and your team are equally as challenged, because when people forget that as an individual rider you're out there and you're doing your thing, and you look into the support vehicle and they're floored. These guys they're going as long as you're going. They're exhausted, they're tired, they're everything, and all of a sudden you get this incredible message coming through Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or Twitter, and you guess
and it could really be from anyone, but it could be from someone special.
Absolutely, and it can be from any corner of the world, and it's just that well done, keep it going, we're following with pride, you're true ambassadors for your country and your sport. The power of that is incredible, absolutely incredible, and it just it takes 2 seconds to write the message, but it's an everlasting message on a dark long road in the middle of nowhere.
I think as well in the races, like, because of the sheer length of the races that we're involved in, because they're in the daytime and then they're in the nighttime. One of the things that happens is it catches a huge global audience, because all of a sudden time difference is not a factor in the whole thing, because who's watching you in the nighttime and who's watching the daytime is 2 different audiences. So you're getting all that happening. I mean, I've seen some of the messages that comes through on our system, like, and recently there I've seen a number of messages coming through where something that we would just take as a normal comment or something that we would normally do has actually transformed how that person actually views their own life and what they're actually doing in their own life. And they're also taking it and they're relaying it to their life and not to sport.
Correct.
So effectively,
and that's the key.
And that's some of the stuff that's for sure I can see in our feeds that's coming through, and it's getting more and more and more. So I think that the whole message of the sport that we're involved in lends itself from a shape point of view much more relatable to people's lives than say anything in mainstream might be, like, because mainstream is it's so clinical.
Well, through endurance we can conquer, and that literally means through endurance, by hanging in there. When we're in the gutter, when we're down in our chips, when our backs are to the wall, just hang in, because it is going to change, because the storm will lift, the clouds will come up, the grey will go away, the blue sky will come out again, and that sun will pop up. And that does happen, but you've just got to be prepared to hang in, and that's exactly what we do in our sport. We're there and we're just pedaling along, and you're just waiting for that cloud to lift, you're just waiting for that blue sky to come up, you're just waiting for that sun to pop up, and that's life.
And that's what Race Across America is. Yeah. It's every day waiting on the sun coming up again for 10 days. Yeah. That's the soul of it.
That's a nice feeling seeing the sun.
It's a nice feeling. I mean, I've seen quite a few of them coming up, and I can assure you it's a nice feeling. Like, but it's that's the journey. That's how Race Across America manifests itself in life. It's the daylight into the nighttime, waiting for the sunlight coming again, and when you see it, it's a big relief. I can assure you. So,
but we've got the easy job. I mean, we really have the easy job.
Well,
seriously. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, the crew behind the scenes. We tapped on it earlier on. The hydration, the fueling. How do you fuel somebody to ride the bike for 5,000 kilometers? It's mental. It's absolutely crazy.
And I think as well, like it has to be said that you have to actually just live. I certainly do anyhow. Live in a world where I don't see what we do as Joe Barr the cyclist and Team Joe Barr the team. I don't see it like that. I never do, and my team know that. We're a collective unit. So I treat the team's job just as difficult as my job, and likewise for them. Like, so effectively we're in this together. That's what we've all signed up for. So we treat each other completely equal. And that's the place that our team has grown to, and I'm sure Jason's will get there as well, is to arrive at this place of collaboration.
They just still think they're better than I am. My team.
We're going to change that.
We're going to change that. I know they're great.
Okay, guys, and looking then to the rest of our own seasons then. So, Joe, we have the endurance workshop on October 21st.
Absolutely. It's another, what we're doing, it's another part of, the paying it forward. I'm at a stage now where we're going to try. This country now is in a period where there's such an interest in the sport starting to gather momentum. We've got a lot of beginners coming along. They have a fantastic race that they run here in Donegal every year.
The 555.
And the thing about it is that there's a lot of education that we can pass on to a lot of beginners, like, rather than going to events and just it going horribly wrong for them and them actually being put off right at the very beginning. I think it's such a...
When it could be something very simple.
It could be something very simple. So what we've done is we put together a workshop, and we're going to run these workshops to educate the beginners as to how they can go about this in a very simple way, just to get them through the first lot of events that they need to do, and try and enhance the sport in the country as well as just enhance the knowledge. So,
and just as a bystander looking in, I think people listening to this podcast should take an interest in that, because it just takes all the guesswork out of it. It just takes complete guesswork out of what do you do, how do you fuel, how do you hydrate, what type of bike setup do I need, what type of clothing do I wear, what's in the team crew, what does navigation involve. It's an endless amount of information. These guys are going to share it all in one workshop. Best money they'll be spent.
Well, the thing about it is, like, the racing endurance racing is an expensive. It's an expensive sport, like, so effectively, like, whenever you're trying to start make your way at the beginning, and I know this from experience, that you're trying to get everything that you can out of that effort. So you're training hard, you're paying a lot of money to get to the events and putting the crews together and making the whole thing happen, and for it to all fall apart because of something very simple and something that
and
could
it generally is something
and
simple.
it usually is, right?
Yeah.
So effectively, that's the piece that we're trying to avoid, to stop that from happening to people, and it allows them then to evolve into the different levels of the sport, regardless of where they choose that to be, because they may not want to go to Race Across America, or they may not want to do whatever, but they're the levels that they choose to get to. And it also gives people who have finished with mainstream because they've it's ran its course with them or whatever, and they want to try the next thing up. So it's a little bit,
I like that, the next thing up.
Yeah, up. Yeah, distance up. It's another level up because it's going to ask more of you.
Yeah,
it's just as simple as that. And if you don't believe that, then that's a mistake, because it will ask a lot more.
Yeah, well, we've done both on mainstream racing, and this world of endurance is a very different animal, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And but look, you know what? We're seeing more teams coming to the table too at the minute as well. It's not always about solo riders. A lot of these events now, maybe not the world ranking events, but certainly on a lower level, they're putting teams out there. There's collaborations of 2 men, 4 men, 6 men, and 8 people. Teams going together, and it's wonderful to see women coming into the sport. It's fantastic to see mixed teams coming together.
And strong women.
It's absolutely incredible. Some of these lady riders would blow the wheels off some of these men. I mean, we've seen it this year in the race around Ireland. I mean, that lady rider, what was her name again?
Nicole. Yeah,
unreal. I mean, I had the opportunity to ride her with her down in Connemara. Mind blown.
Beast.
Absolutely incredible. So don't be under no illusion. There's some incredible talented lady riders out there, and you know what? The sport needs that. I've got 3 wonderful daughters and an incredible wife, and they're all strong in sport, and we're just seeing that growth in women coming into endurance sport. And if you read any statistics, they'll tell you that they're better at endurance sport than we are. Fact.
Okay. Jason, for you then, NCOM 1000, what's your final bit of advice to yourself?
Look, you know, we're rolling out now. This day next week we'll be in Texas. 1600 kilometre race. It's a new learning, it's a new development for Jason Black and the Vodoo Performance team. Again, we're a united force, as Joe said, and no more than his own team. We're all one. I'm just looking to continue my development physically and mentally and as a team. I'm really excited about 2018. I can't wait to see what 2018 holds. I think myself and Joe are 2 mature athletes, and I think in life we've had the knocks in life, and I think, you know, we've got a product that we want to bring globally through Race Across America to people's doorstep We really want people to come with us
Yeah.
and really to enjoying it, to buy into the message of Stronger Together.
So,
And that's I'm super excited about 2018. Really.
so anybody then on the Team Joe Barr Facebook, guys, if you can go across to Jason's Facebook, Jason Black, and then if you're on Jason Black's Facebook, come across to ours. We'll
Yeah.
collaborative
Stronger
effort.
together.
Stronger together, folks. That's
the
what we're
attitude.
saying. Like,
you know,
that's
you'll
what-
get me on jasonblack.ie and you'll get Joe on teamjoebarr.com. And please share. Please ask questions. No matter how big, how small the question is, we're there to help. That's the reality. Whether it's about life or whether it's about sport, just shout.
We're there. Okay, guys, we'll see you again. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Ciao.